You've come to the right place if you're a course creator looking to build more impact, income, and freedom. LMScast is the #1 podcast for course creators just like you. I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I'm the co-founder of the most powerful tool for building, selling, and protecting engaging online courses called LifterLMS. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of LMScast. My name's Chris Badgett. I'm joined by a special repeat guest, Allie Mathis from the LifterLMS team. How's it going, Allie?
Good. I'm so excited to be here again. How are
Awesome.
you?
Good. Doing well. Well, welcome back.
Thanks.
I know today we're going to talk about WooCommerce. LifterLMS is always integrated with WooCommerce, and a lot of new things have come out in that regard. So where do we want to take this conversation?
Well, I thought first we could talk a little bit about WooCommerce, like from a big picture, and talk about why somebody might want to choose WooCommerce for their course site, and about some of the differences and trade-offs, pros and cons between using WooCommerce and some of the other LifterLMS gateways. Because WooCommerce is an e-commerce system, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So a history lesson on WooCommerce. I believe it's approximately 7 years old. Maybe 8. It's been around for a long time. It came out of South Africa by a company called Woo Themes. They used to make themes, and they got into the e-commerce plugin business. So in the earlier days of WordPress, WooCommerce evolved as the leader in e-commerce for WordPress. Fast forward to recently, like a year or two ago, WooCommerce was acquired by Automatic, the main company behind WooCommerce, or behind WordPress itself. So WooCommerce has been on quite the ride. It's one of the largest e-commerce systems on the entire internet. You know, there's other solutions like Shopify and stuff out there, but in the WooCommerce, or in the WordPress ecosystem, WooCommerce is the dominant player. When we first launched LifterLMS, we had our own Stripe and PayPal payment gateways, but WooCommerce has been around for a long time, and there's all kinds of different reasons that people would want to use WooCommerce to sell. But yeah, that's the history lesson.
Okay. So what are some of the reasons that people would want to use WooCommerce on their LifterLMS site? Can you get into some specifics?
Yeah. So the first thing is, I don't recommend using it if you don't need it. So
Okay.
if you live in a country like the United States, Canada, a lot of Europe, Australia, New Zealand, these are countries that Stripe works in. And Stripe is for taking credit card payments, and LifterLMS has its own e-commerce system. So you probably just need our Stripe add-on. But if you don't live in a country that Stripe supports, and I think there's about 18 countries that Stripe supports, perhaps there's another payment gateway besides Stripe that can process those credit cards that WooCommerce has an extension for. And I don't have it up in front of me right now, but if you go to the WooCommerce website and you go in their extensions and you go into the payment gateway category, you can type in your country and you can see which payment gateways they have that'll work in your country. So if you need a payment gateway besides Stripe or PayPal or Authorize.net, which is what we offer through Lifter natively, then you should check out what's possible with WooCommerce, and maybe there's an add-on either for free or paid over there that can help bring the payment processing to your site. So that's one reason, payment gateways.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason is that you sell more than courses and memberships. If you have equipment, if you have physical products that need to be shipped, let's say you have some books, other kinds of just, products that you sell that require physical shipping that go with whatever your program is all about, you may want a full-on e-commerce store, which WooCommerce can bring to you, and not just selling courses and memberships. Then you can kind of add courses and memberships to your existing product catalog in your WooCommerce store. And WooCommerce is better situated to handle all those kind of product details around shipping and adding extra for different types of shipping and all this kind of stuff that we see in a physical products business. That's another reason to use WooCommerce. A third reason is there are other add-ons or plugins or extensions that WooCommerce has that you might want to use. So for example, in the tax arena, WooCommerce has integrations with Quaderno, Taxamo, TaxJar, Avalara. These are tools that handle all the nuances of international tax, which some people want to work with. So we don't have that at Lifter, but if you need that, you can use that through WooCommerce. There's also other plugins, like they have a plugin called Vendors, I think another one called Teams, where you can create sort of a course marketplace on your site that has all the like the commission structures and the dashboard for e-commerce sales. That's basically to the point that you could create like a Udemy style clone with the product vendors add-on in addition to WooCommerce. So those are really the main reasons to not use LifterLMS, Stripe, PayPal, or Authorize.net. If you need another payment gateway, you have you want a full-on e-commerce store that sells all kinds of stuff, or you need some other niche tool that's already available in the WooCommerce ecosystem.
So I know you're not an accountant, but you mentioned taxes. Is that just really an international consideration for people outside the U.S., or might people in the U.S. have to be concerned with taxes on their course and need to use WooCommerce for that as well?
It's a good question. So I'm in the process right now for this podcast, getting someone to come on and talk to the issue of taxes with digital products and programs like you create with courses and memberships, and what the implications are both inside the United States, Canada, and all countries, whether you're selling just in your country or internationally, because it's a little bit of the Wild West when it comes to the online space and e-business, if you will. Mm-hmm. So, but certain countries like in the European Union, they have the more mature tax system for online businesses where they need to have what's called VAT, value added tax, added to sales from these kinds of websites. And some people prefer to use a tax management system like some of the ones I mentioned, instead of just doing it on their own. You can absolutely do it on your own with just take your sales, go to your accountant, and figure out how much you owe to who and what government and all that stuff. Or you can work with these kind of automated tools that, help kind of do some of that work in advance. So there's different ways to do it. But yeah, definitely consult with your accountant on what your, what you think is the best path for you. And a lot of it varies. If you're just getting started and you just have an idea and you haven't really validated, or you're not getting like tons of sales in tons of countries, that's a different situation than being in like a mature expert business where you're selling internationally, you're making over 7 figures a year. You really want to have your tax stuff figured out. So yeah, I would say before going to the tools, consult your accountant and figure out the best, strategy.
Yeah. So do you have any idea about like what percentage of LifterLMS users choose WooCommerce as opposed to using the LifterLMS payment gateway options?
I'm not sure, because we don't necessarily have optics into our bundles and what people are using inside of the bundles or the individual products. I mean, we know what the sales are. Like by far more people buy the LifterLMS, Stripe, or PayPal add-on and just do it simply all with Lifter without bringing WooCommerce to the party. But there's a good percentage of people that sell with Woo. If I had to wager a guess, I would say somewhere around 20%, 25% are selling with Woo for the reasons we discussed.
Right. And WooCommerce, as well as our Stripe and PayPal add-ons. Those all come in both of our bundles. So
Yep.
people
Yeah,
can
you can get it a la carte for $99 or get it via the Universe bundle or our big Infinity bundle.
But just to super clarify, you can't use WooCommerce and, for example, LifterLMS Stripe, correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. You're just kind of creating unnecessary mess. Like WooCommerce does have its own Stripe add-on. But another thing that surprises people is sometimes if you do decide to use WooCommerce, you can use their Stripe add-on. But if you want recurring payments, which Lifter Stripe can do, if you do that through WooCommerce, you're going to need to get the WooCommerce subscriptions plugin, which I believe costs $200. They might have raised the price. But Woo subscription, if you decide to sell your Lifter stuff with Woo and you want recurring payments, you are going to need to also get the Woo subscriptions add-on from WooCommerce.
Gotcha. So now the big news here at LifterLMS, of course, is that we just rolled out a major update to our WooCommerce add-on. Can you talk a little bit about how the beta process that we went through first in the beta period and what that was like, and if we learned anything from that, and then what the process of like transitioning from beta to a stable version was like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So about maybe 8 months ago of this recording, we introduced a more formal beta testing program where people can opt in to participate in beta versions of our various products. And we put Woo through that system. It was in beta for about 3 months, I believe. And during that period, there were several releases, and we were collecting feedback from people that were using the beta version, as well as testing it ourselves to make sure that we ironed out any kinks, to make sure we conceptualized of the new features that we were adding correctly and fulfilling the need that was in the marketplace. And it was a great experience. So beta testing is really meant for not using on a production site, although in full transparency, we did see people using the beta version on their production sites. So, it was stable, but we got some good feedback and added some more features, and fixed any issues that popped up while it was in the beta period. And then we released it here recently. So that new release was WooCommerce 2.0. And there's already been, some more improvements that have come after that. But 2.0 being a major number increase from 1.8 or wherever it was up to 2.0 had some huge improvements to it.
Yeah, and we'll get into that in a second. We got a substantial amount of feedback from the community that participated in the beta period, and do you have any idea about how many people did participate in that?
I'm not sure of the exact number. That's actually a better question for Thomas, but I did see some chatter and saw some stuff, and it comes through multiple channels. It comes through our Slack community. It comes through the support ticket system. I think in reality, the way I was left feeling is like, I'd like to have more people participating. There were some, but I'd love to have more. So if you are using a good web host like WP Engine or Kinsta that has a staging environment where not your live site, and you want to test new versions of Lifter or the add-ons, I'd recommend joining our beta program. It's also not just about like finding bugs or whatever. It's about making sure that we have product market fit. So beta testers actually have a unique opportunity to influence the product and get the features that they want in there. So if you are that kind of person that has an opinion about what you need in your tools, I would encourage you to join and participate in the beta programs of some or all of our products.
Cool. So let's get into WooCommerce LifterLMS 2.0 a little bit. I was hoping you could give our audience an overview of some of the top benefits and features that have rolled out along with the new version of WooCommerce and some of the cool new things that they can do with it.
Absolutely. So This is one of the things we actually have to start with a story about Lifter LMS before we get into WooCommerce.
Okay.
Uh, I think it was probably around Lifter LMS 2.0. We rebuilt our version of e-commerce into what we call the access plan system. And this is one thing I'm really proud of is the reality is the way that system worked, it was more powerful than what you could do by using WooCommerce and Woo subscriptions. We had essentially created like we combined the needs of what membership plugins do in terms of locking down content to what e-commerce plugins do to, allowing that checkout experience and payment transaction to happen, and simplified it all so that it was easy to use for courses and memberships. And no matter what pricing model people come up with, it could handle that. Which is amazing. And that was an innovation several years ago at Lifter LMS. So what ended up happening is if people wanted to use WooCommerce, they would use our WooCommerce integration and start selling with Woo, but then they started realizing that they don't have all the raw power of Lifter's native e-commerce and, membership protection access plan system. They had a lot of it. But what they realized is they still had to, potentially buy a payment gateway from Woo, buy Woo subscriptions if they wanted recurring payments. And we didn't have as fine-tuned access controls if you decided to sell with Woo. You would make the sale through Woo and whatever WooCommerce add-ons you were using, but you didn't have the granularity and fine-tuned access controls that Lifter had in terms of expiration and the ability to just do more fine-tuned variations of what different access models and pricing models you could use on the same course to create like a pricing table that had all these different options.
And was there, sorry to interrupt, but was there like a substantial amount of feedback from the community on that, I'm guessing? Or that's probably where
there was
came from?
Yeah. So for example, like someone in Europe would be like, I have to use WooCommerce because I want to do the VAT tax plugin that WooCommerce has.
Yeah.
But I want the full power of Lifter, and it wasn't that you couldn't do those two things at the same time. But now with Lifter LMS WooCommerce 2.0, you can. So essentially, at the access plan level in Lifter LMS language, you can associate a WooCommerce product with a particular access plan to a course or a membership, and even to a particular WooCommerce product variation, which gets kind of geeky into the nuances of what WooCommerce does, but pretty much anything that was possible in Lifter in terms of e-commerce and access can now happen if you decide to use WooCommerce to sell. So that makes a lot of people happy that are, for whatever reason, wanting or needing to stay in the WooCommerce ecosystem.
Yeah. Cool. And so getting back to some of the new, features and benefits specifically to WooCommerce Lifter LMS 2.0, are there any others that you want to highlight?
I just think they can work really well together if you have if you have a clear vision for your store, and you know what's possible in WooCommerce. So we talked about the product vendors add-on that WooCommerce has. Now you could literally build a Udemy clone, which I forget how many millions of dollars of funding Udemy has had to build up that company. You can now build a website like that with Lifter LMS plus WooCommerce and some add-ons from WooCommerce, which is really quite amazing.
And how complicated is that to do? What can you be like a beginner and do it? Do you need to be a developer or somewhere in between?
You could do that without being a developer. You just need to know how to drive WordPress and use WordPress plugins like Lifter and WooCommerce plug add-ons. and follow documentation. But that's the crazy thing when I think about it is you could build a Udemy clone or some kind of course marketplace that's pretty advanced from a LMS perspective and an e-commerce perspective and a multi-user role perspective, really fast. Like, I mean, essentially, one of these days I'm going to put together like how to build the Udemy clone to build the prototype.
I have seen that question a lot in pre-sales.
Well, Lifter's flexible because you can do a one-course website. You can do the multiple courses. You can start getting into memberships. You can get multiple instructors all the way on up to this course marketplace where each seller has their own dashboard and ad affiliate program and all this stuff. So Lifter can scale up with you from simple to complex. But to go back to that course marketplace, I could put together a prototype with that if I had the content together in a day easily. And it's
like
just
an 8-hour day or a 24-hour day.
Well, as anybody listening out there knows, building websites, we always underestimate ourselves. So maybe it would take me 2 days, but 2 8-hour days.
Yeah.
But, if I had like 20 courses and the content was all done and all loaded into like the videos and I had the worksheets and whatever else went with the course and the achievement badges.
Yeah.
Without getting into like heavy design, I would probably use like the Astra theme, which also has integration into Lifter and WooCommerce. And I'd put together a nice looking site fast, so that's what just blows my mind is what's possible with these tools. And you go back to it and the core Lifter LMS and the core WooCommerce is actually free. So to get started if you're going to join the two, you need that $99 bridge to sell with Woo Lifter stuff. And then you also
need, you need at least I want to try to say this the right way, like a WooCommerce payment gateway add-on as well, right?
Yeah, you need to get
they have WooCommerce, Stripe for WooCommerce or PayPal for WooCommerce.
Yeah, or Authorize.net or all the other ones that they have that work in all kinds of different countries.
And are those all free from WooCommerce or are those paid add-ons too? Do you know?
Most of their payment gateways are paid, but they do have some free ones. So it's important to check the WordPress repository, for whatever you're looking for to see if they're offering it for free.
Yeah.
And also look at, if you're getting into WooCommerce add-ons, look at who makes the add-on and how many installs are there. Like if WooCommerce itself makes the add-on, it's really, really solid. Or in this case, it might even say Automatic now that Automatic acquired WooCommerce. But and then there's third-party companies, and some of them are fantastic that create payment gateways too that aren't affiliated with WooCommerce or Automatic. They're entrepreneurs and typically in the country that is not able to sell on WooCommerce will create a payment gateway to unlock e-commerce for their country. So it's a really cool thing.
But generally, we try to advise people not to build what you like to call Frankenstein websites, right? To try to minimize the amount of add-ons, if you can.
Yeah. So the number of plugins and the number of products made by different companies, I definitely recommend a minimalist approach. So when I'm talking to somebody, the first thing I try to do about their project requirements is if they're coming at me with memberships or I need WooCommerce, at first I try to talk them out of it. I don't think you need our memberships functionality yet if you just have a course or a couple courses. I don't think you need WooCommerce if you have Stripe and you're just selling courses and memberships. So it's really a consultative process of let's keep it simple and add layers as we need them and absolutely nothing extra.
Right.
So for example, to build that Udemy or Course Marketplace clone, if I were to list out the plugins that I would approach that project with, I would use the Astra theme. I would use the Astra Pro plugin. I would use LifterLMS. I would use LifterLMS WooCommerce. I would use WooCommerce. I would use the Stripe and PayPal payment gateways, and I would use the vendors plugin. So basically, with 8 plugins,
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. Like,
Okay.
there's no reason to have like 40 or 50 plugins on the site.
Right. Right. And so you would call like 8 a small number of plugins then.
I would, but for a simple Lifter site, like
Mm-hmm.
if you're just doing courses, I would literally have like Lifter and the Stripe add-on.
Uh-huh.
And then I would start adding, if I wanted to get into the advanced features like the social learning or the coaching, I would start bringing those other Lifter tools in.
Mm-hmm.
But to start, like at its very simplest, Lifter plus a payment gateway is
Mm-hmm.
plenty fine to start for a lot of people.
Cool. So just to reiterate, or just to not reiterate, but sort of get back to the details of how people get LifterLMS WooCommerce 2.0. If you are already a subscriber to the Universe Bundle or the Infinity Bundle, they just need to upgrade, right, from within their dashboard. Or otherwise they can go out and grab the single plugin or grab it as part of one of our bundles.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's we're also, as of this recording, it may have already happened when you're listening or maybe not yet, but we're going to be doing a demo webinar of this. So a lot of what we're talking about, maybe it's you'd like to see what we're talking about. So we're going to demonstrate all this on a webinar, and maybe that webinar has already happened. So if you go to the LifterLMS website and scroll down to the bottom of the website, you can find a webinars link and just find the one about WooCommerce. And we'll have a lot of visuals about what we're talking about here today.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Chris. It's always fun talking to you.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, Allie. You were getting me excited about WooCommerce. It's a great tool, and I am happy to have our companies partner together to give course builders and education companies and institutions the tools they need to build these learning programs. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's exciting. Thanks, Chris.
And that's a wrap for this episode of LMScast. I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I hope you enjoyed the show. This show was brought to you by LifterLMS, the #1 tool for creating, selling, and protecting engaging online courses to help you get more revenue, freedom, and impact in your life. Head on over to LifterLMS.com and get the best gear for your course creator journey. Let's build the most engaging, results-getting courses on the internet.